Hi, boys and girls. You know, we've been reading books about polar bears and collecting information, which means we're doing research and learning about polar bears. And now we're going to be writing an informational text, a story basically, but it's true information about polar bears. So tomorrow we'll write what we've learned, and today we're going to work on the front cover. Now, I have included this page in this assignment for you to print if you want, but you don't have to. You can always just do plain paper. It says all about, and I'm going to go ahead and write polar bears. I'm using my pencil. I have a fancy pencil with my name on it. It says April. Miss Thompson gave that to me. So I'm going to write polar bears. I'm going to write it kind of big. And I write it with pencil because if I make a mistake, I can erase the pencil. So all about polar bears by Miss Phrase. Now you'll write your name down here, obviously. Now, I've already written it, so it looks good, and I know that I wrote it right. So I'm going to take a marker, and I'm just going to trace over my words. That way they'll stand out on the page a little more. And it'll look nice. So once you do something in pencil and you know you've got it the way you want it, then you can trace it with marker or a crayon, and you can make it stand out on the page a little better. Now I will tell you that if you write very, very small and close together, it is very hard to trace with a marker. So don't write too small or too close together. This is the front cover of the book. The title is usually nice and big on the front cover, so make sure you write your words big enough that you'll be able to trace over them, because markers have a wider point. It's not as small as a pencil, so if you write tiny, it'll be harder for you to do this. And I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna trace my name. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to use my pencil to draw a picture. Now I know that polar bears live in a polar area. They live in the Arctic, and that they're often out on the sea ice hunting. So I'm going to draw my picture with the ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and some ice floes, which are the big chunks of ice that the polar bears float around on, and a polar bear. Now, I am not very good at drawing polar bears, so I am just going to do my best. I'm going to start by drawing my polar bear. Let's see. I think I'm going to have it swimming in the water. So there's a little tail, little leg, little feet. Now yours could be on land. You can draw it however you want. Just make sure that when you're drawing your polar bear that you make your polar bear live in a place that looks like, oops, that's terrible. I'm gonna erase it and fix it. Make sure you make your polar bear live in a place where a polar bear would live. It shouldn't have big trees and things like that because, well, polar bears don't live where there are big trees. Now, as I said, I'm not a very good polar bear artist. So there's the start of my polar bear. I'm gonna give him some eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and make a snout. Nose. Like I said, not a great polar bear drawer or artist. I'm going to go ahead now and make the water and some more water. And then I'm going to make a big ice floe here. Alright, now there's so much white. You got a white polar bear. You got snow and ice. I'm going to take the time today to go ahead and trace around some things. So I'm going to trace around the ice floe. And I think I'm going to do this on flat paper and then show you. Tracing around something makes it stand out. And in the case of ice, you know, it's going to look pretty weird. So I'm just going to trace the outline of it. And then I'm going to trace the water's outline. For one reason, or one reason I'm doing that is because the sky and the water could blend together if you're not careful. So I'm going to go ahead and color in the water. I do think I'll go ahead and make the sun. And I'm going to use a black to trace around the outline of my polar bear to make him stand out a little better. Just makes your picture quality nicer. If you don't do that, then it's just a duller picture, meaning that it's so light on the page it's hard to see. So I'm going to very carefully trace around my polar bear in a second so that you can see it. Now some people might choose to put labels on their front cover, and that's okay. We did do a diagram, so you don't have to, but if you wanted to label some of the objects like the ice flow and the sun if you do it, or the bear. Let's see, hopefully I have a black marker in here. Sometimes I'm guilty of taking a crayon out and not putting it back. Aha, I do have one. I like to use black to outline things that are white a lot of times. Now, like I said, my polar bear is not the greatest. I didn't expect him to be, because to be honest, I'm just not very good at drawing bears. And I'm trying to draw him swimming, so he's even more funny looking. Mostly his head looks funny. I think I could have done a better job on his head. But best I could do. So I traced around my polar bear, I've traced around my ice flow, I've done my ocean, and now I'm going to make a sun in the sky before I color the sky. Because I'll use yellow in the sun, and sometimes yellow just doesn't show up very well. And so it's a lighter color, and if you end up using yellow around a darker color, sometimes they'll mix together. And I like my yellow to look yellow, not smudgy. So if I'm doing a light color like yellow, or even if I use white crayons, I usually do the light color and then the darker color around it. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my sky, because this is the front cover of the book, and a lot of times when we're choosing something to read, we do look at that front cover and it tells us, do I think this is interesting? Well, you know, the cover is what attracts the reader. It's the thing that actually makes the reader want to read the book. So as you can see, I'm just coloring around. I'm going to fill in all that sky. I'm also going to go ahead and color in those letters at the top and down here, the by, and make a beautiful front cover. So I want you guys to go ahead today and design a front cover that you will use with your polar bear book. Tomorrow we will use our bubble map and our polar bear tree, where we said polar bears can, polar bears have, and polar bears are. We're going to use those to write about polar bears. Talk to you soon. Bye.